Hello, and welcome to Video AAPT, a virtual workshop series run in partnership with Physics Today. I'm Mike Hall, Director of Membership for the American Association of Physics Teachers. This episode is sponsored by Expert TA. Expert TA has been a longtime partner of AAPT, and we're extremely appreciative of their ongoing support. You can find a link to their offerings in the resources section. Before we begin, let's go over just a few housekeeping items. At the bottom of your screen, there's a floating menu bar with shortcuts to the tools for engaging with this workshop. These are resizable and movable, so you're welcome to move them around to get the most out of your monitor space. At the far left of the bottom toolbar is the media player control for viewing the speaker. Also, you can expand the slide frame by clicking on the arrows in the top right corner. So there are two different ways for you to interact in these workshops. There's the chat and there's the Q&A. If you haven't already done so, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Tell us who you are, where you're located, what you teach. Although we'll be monitoring and participating in the chat as much as we can, you can expect that the chat will largely be a conversation among the attendees. However, if you have a question or comment that you'd like to get in front of the presenters, please submit that through the Ask Questions frame. I'll be monitoring the incoming questions and interjecting from time to time. Please help us make this virtual workshop interactive by submitting questions throughout the event. If you're experiencing any difficulties, please feel free to enter any questions through the Ask Questions frame, and we'll get you straightened out. A recording of the event will be available after the event concludes and can be accessed using the same audience link that was sent to you earlier. If you enjoyed the workshop, you could also share the link with colleagues so that they can view it on demand. At this time, it's my pleasure to turn it over to our first presenter, Clifton Rosenboom, founder and CTO of Pocket Lab. Clifton?
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. And thank you to all the physics teachers that are joining us. I saw in the chat from Southeastern Pennsylvania. I saw South America, Santa Monica, New Jersey. So thank you for taking time out of your Thursday evening to be with us before what hopefully is maybe a week-long break for many people, maybe 3 days off for the Thanksgiving holiday. And I'm here to talk about Pocket Lab and a new program that we have started with Conceptual Physics, a long-running seminal textbook by Paul Hewitt. And I'm going to talk about a bunch of free stuff that we have, both virtual to point you to some resources and some physical free giveaways. So I think the only thing better than free stuff is free physics stuff. So I hope this is helpful to you. And maybe you can go away from our session with a few things that you could use in your classroom with your physics students here in very short order. So some background. I'm the founder and CTO of Pocket Lab. And Pocket Lab, we started in the sort of supplemental physics space, building devices for doing hands-on science experiments, collecting data, very much like probeware that you might be more familiar with from Pasco Vernier. And we make devices that are like a Swiss Army knife that you can measure a whole bunch of things and go out and explore the world around you. And we started a partnership with Conceptual Academy, certainly the most widely applicable title for here is Conceptual Physics with Paul Hewitt. And we've brought that into a digital first environment, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And some background, I've been working on Pocket Lab for 10 years. I have also been a lecturer in mechanical engineering. I love sensors and collecting data, instrumentation, and I've been a lecturer for 3 years on sensors, teaching mostly mechanical engineering students how to make measurements from their experiments. So this initiative that we have with Conceptual Physics came about when I took physics my freshman physics course in 2001, I used conceptual physics and Paul Hewitt's text. And when I opened it, and as a curious student, I was blown away by the intuitive nature of the textbook. It was like fun to read. There were cartoons and there were diagrams, and it wasn't. It was very intuitive and grounded in what we know to be like in the physical world around us. And so it was in its 13th or it is now in its 13th edition, and we have been lucky enough to bring it into a digital realm. And one of the things, if you're familiar with Paul Hewitt and his teaching style, and one of the things that he wanted to leave a legacy with are his like amazing lecture videos. And to me, these are like a master class for doing demonstrations and illustrating concepts in front of a classroom. And so that's the first free thing that we want to show you, and a takeaway that hopefully you can bring to your classroom the next time you're lecturing. So I'll show you here. So Paul is still alive and well. He's 92 years old. We still get him on virtual webinars once in a while. And but part of his legacy and what he wanted to, a resource he wanted to leave people with are these physics lecture series that were recorded. And these are amazing. Like the demonstrations and the way that he illustrates physics concepts are so intuitive and so impactful. They're very retro looking. I mean, they were filmed in the 80s, and you can tell by the video quality and by the apparel and the style. But they are amazing. And so all of these are available. And there's, I think there's about 36 of them. And they used to be on VHS tapes and then DVDs and then digital downloads. But Paul wanted to make these freely available to everybody. So if you're interested in using them, you can go to conceptual.academy and you can access them right there. And there are some demonstrations in there that I've been a physics student for a long time that I had never seen, and that are incredible illustrations. So check that out. So that's the first free thing that we wanted to highlight and for the AAPT community. The second one is the partnership and the conjunction between Pocket Lab and Conceptual Academy. And we deliver all of this amazing content through our app, which is called Pocket Lab Notebook. And this is a web-based application that functions as a digital lab notebook. And we use this primarily with high school and freshman college students as a way to do lab reports and digital lessons. And we deliver a whole bunch of amazing content. Here is the conceptual physics series, which you see here as a full curriculum within Pocket Lab Notebook. Conceptual physics is part of our premium content that's available. Believe it or not, authors want to get paid for their intellectual property and their hard work. So there is premium content like conceptual physics and comprehensive curriculum from 3rd grade on up through 12th grade. And we would love for you to check that out. And also within Pocket Lab Notebook are a whole bunch of free lessons. And we have this ever-growing lesson library that we're really proud of. And these are supplemental lessons that you can use in your classroom. And you can sign up for a free notebook account and use these. So you have this digital lab notebook uh, capabilities, as well as this library of ever-growing supplemental activities. A lot of them are in physics, but we also cover biology and chemistry, and in the lower grades, more STEM-focused, broader activities. So if you're interested, you can go to thepocketlab.com/app and sign up for a free account, and you can use any of these activities. An example of some of the awesome activities in here are this one uses our Pocket Lab sensors. This is a classic half Atwood machine and uses our G-force sensor, which can measure motion, and it fits onto a Hot Wheels track. So you can do those classic force and motion experiments in a creative way. So what you see here is a lesson, what a student would see and how they can progress through it. So there's embedded videos, you can embed PhET simulations. All this works in an integrated way. So a student can very easily go through an activity with all of this rich content. So this is one of the examples of a lesson in there. Another example, this is a really cool one that we're proud of, is this is a lesson on demonstrating exoplanets and how we search for exoplanets. This one is great. We've done it with 6th graders, we've done it with 12th graders, and this one is cool, and I won't play, but we did this in conjunction with Neil deGrasse Tyson and his Star Talk podcast. So we did a virtual experiment where I have the experiment set up, and then Neil walks us through it. This helps with the procedure and augments this activity. So this one's really cool, and we have a few of these in conjunction with Star Talk and Neil deGrasse Tyson. So that's the second free thing that we wanted to highlight and make available and known to the AAPT community. The third one is since we have moved into this 13th edition with conceptual physics, and this one, and if there are any physics teachers in Texas, which I did not see when we were initially looking and scrolling the chat, but if there are any physics teachers in Texas, you might know that Texas is adopting all new curriculum and textbooks across all science grades. Their standards are called the TEKS, T-E-K-S, and there are revised standards for 2024. And so if there are any teachers in Texas, one of the things that we did with this new edition of conceptual physics is over here, align it and design it for those new Texas standards. And as any teacher in Texas knows, the Texas standards are unique to Texas. They're not exactly like standards from any other states or what we have as close to the national standards with NGSS. And so to have uniquely designed materials for Texas, only comes during these sort of adoption cycles when the standards get revised. So if there are any physics teachers in Texas, we would love to, you can get access to a free print version of this if you reach out to us. And we know many districts are in the process of evaluating how they're going to change their instructional materials going into 2024. And so that is a resource as well. And then the last thing, the last free thing that we wanted to share with the AAPT community is for any of those fans that have used conceptual physics before in their teaching. You're probably familiar with the cartoons and the drawings that Paul Hewitt was really famous for. I mean, he had this way of drawing out on the board in chalk these classic physics experiments, and it's an amazing sort of pedagogical approach where as he's drawing it, it just, it slows things down. It gives students a chance to digest what's going on. It shows real care and preparation for the material. So he became famous for what were called Hewitt Druitt's, both his chalkboard drawings and then the cartoons that would go into the textbook. So we have from Paul Hewitt some of his classic cartoons on these very nice prints that Paul has signed and autographed, and then they're individually numbered. So this is print 6 of 20. And we did this as part of sort of commemorating this edition of conceptual physics. So we have those available. We're doing a raffle for them. So there's a sign up form to learn more, and that will drop into the chat. So if you're interested in being entered into that raffle, we will give away a few of these prints, and they're for anybody that has taught with conceptual physics, they're pretty cool. So to recap, there's sort of 4 free things that we wanted to share with you, and we hope at different levels they can be incorporated into your teaching in your classroom here in short order. So there was go to conceptual.academy for those masterclass videos. One of my favorite demonstration that I had never seen before in one of these videos was an amazing demonstration of inertia, where there's a big cannonball that he hangs from a string, and then there's another string below it. He and then asked the class the question of, if I pull onto this lower string, which one will break first? And of course, the top one will, as he's pulling slowly on it, because it has both the weight that he's pulling on it and this big cannonball. But then he hangs up another string, and he says, now if I pull fast, which string will break first? It's not a demonstration I've ever seen or ever really thought about. And he yanks on that bottom string, and the bottom string breaks first, and this top string still hanging because of the inertia of this cannonball. It is an amazing demonstration, amazing illustration of inertia, which I'd never seen, and it really is an effective teaching tool. And so that series has those sorts of demonstrations all throughout. So
Clifton.
Yes.
Clifton, this is Mike. Could I jump in with a question? Somebody was asking what is different about the Texas standards?
Oh, a lot. So thankfully, interestingly, over the last decade, Texas has moved more towards the 3-dimensional learning that we see in the NGSS. So this interweaving of the science and engineering practices, the data analysis would be science and engineering practice, an SEP, the cross-cutting concepts like cause and effect, and then the content knowledge, which we've always had the content knowledge, like Newton's second law, F equals ma. But NGSS has moved towards a way of interweaving those into what we now call 3-dimensional learning. And Texas has moved in that direction towards that 3-dimensional learning. They happen to call things different, so that is uniquely Texan. And then, interestingly, for the NGSS, with the way that they've revised their standards, we've moved towards very relatively few what they call performance expectations. So in high school physics, I think there may be 20 performance expectations, and really trying to reduce the number of things that you're trying to hit to give, I think, more freedom for teachers to operate. In Texas, that's still not the case. There are literally hundreds of standards and sort of very detailed standards breakouts that every teacher, every curriculum is supposed to hit, making sure that you really, every detail of, F equals MA in different applications gets touched on. So that is very unique to Texas. And according to Texas state law, every school has to teach to 100% of the TEKS. And so it is, all the material has to be, very Texas centric. In Texas as well, science testing is not, standardized nationally. In Texas, biology is the only tested science when in high school after you take biology. And so there are unique requirements for those state tests. So thank you for that question, Mike. And were there other questions from the chat? Otherwise, yeah.
There are a couple actually, and actually this is, I think, a comment on what you were just talking about. This is from Paul in New York. That this is very similar to the changes in the New York State curriculum. They call it NYSSLS. Same idea of cross-cutting concepts, anchoring phenomena, empirical investigation, etc.
Right, and that in whenever the K-12 framework and this very long sort of document and assessment of science education came out, and I think that's probably about 10 years, 12 years now that framework came out. A lot of states have moved towards the ideas that were sort of documented and really set forth in that framework. That's where the NGSS came, and many states are now adopting very similar standards. So good to hear New York is moving in that direction too. Makes things a lot easier for somebody making instructional materials to be able to get it into New York classrooms or Texas classrooms or California classrooms.
Can I give you another attendee question?
Please.
Okay. In what ways can the curriculum be customized to cater to the unique needs and learning styles of different student groups?
That's a great question. And I breezed through it quickly during my screen sharing, but every Pocket Lab notebook was designed so that everything could be edited. Any feature could be added within that we use to build a lesson or activity, and that you can use to customize a lesson. And so while, and I think the next speaker is going to talk about this as well, publishing has long been of this paradigm of, printed textbooks that are static. And then even when this moved to digital, the paradigm was, okay, we're going to make an ebook or an e-reader. And, we've had that for a long time. But what we really want in this now, very digital first environment is to be able to have control to make edits. And with Pocket Lab Notebook, everything is editable. Think of it as like a Google Doc for your lab report. And so you can open that lesson and make versions, put in extra scaffolding for your students, depending on their level. You can extend it for your gifted learners or for your advanced classes. So that flexibility is built into Notebook. So thank you for that question, whoever the attendee was. And we'd love to, if you are interested to learn more, we'd love to follow up with you.
Okay. If we have time, I'd like to do one more question. What assessment tools are included in the curriculum to measure student learning?
It's a great question. So within Notebook, we have formative assessments built into lessons where there are checks for understanding, short answer questions, Any of the multiple choice questions are auto graded, and they can give feedback to students in real time. They can be, we have programmed them to give hints if you get the wrong answer on the first try. So there is that formative assessment built into the lessons. And then for summative assessments, all of our programs have test banks that can be loaded into whatever assessment system that you use. So they are compatible with whatever summative assessment platform you have, or you can use them to create your test that you print out and hand to students. So each program has test bank of questions that have been developed over 30 years and available for anybody that uses the program.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Clifton. Let's give Clifton a virtual round of applause. If anyone has any additional questions for Clifton, please feel free to continue to submit them through the Q&A, and we can get to them through the course of the rest of the session here. You can also use the chat as well. So we'd like to move on to our final presenters. So we have Jack Cameron, who's the VP of Sales of Expert TA, and David Marks, who's Associate Professor of Physics at Illinois State University. Gentlemen?
All right, thank you. I want to say hello to everyone, and I'm glad you're all here and quite excited to tell you about this new project. I've been teaching physics for about 32 years, and nearly for that same amount of time, I've been creating supplemental content for various publishers for both algebra-based and calculus-based courses, including Expert TA for several years now. I began using the Expert TA homework system in my courses about 8 years ago. And as far as OpenStax goes, I've been familiar with that since shortly after it was launched, but I never adopted it. However, with the editable capability that we'll be talking about, I am planning on using it for my summer course in 2024. Over the past 4 months, I've been using the Expert TA editor to make changes and additions to the university physics text in order to better match what I teach in my courses and to use notation and language that is consistent with what I do in lectures. And so I'm hoping to do things like embed short videos and PhET simulations to the text and find ways to make it more interactive for my students. And one of the things I like to do is to include historical context for a lot of the topics. For example, I've recently been editing the thermal physics content, adding more information on Fahrenheit's development of his thermometer and more detail on how we do temperature scale conversions. Some of the things that I really like are I can rearrange whole sections or omit sections that I don't want to cover. And eventually, I think there will be additional content available from other users as people make their own edited versions of the textbook, and I can grab what other people have done. And in the end, we can have a text that works for both me and my students. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jack Cameron, and he's going to show you all the details on how this works.
Yeah, thank you, David. And, thanks for sharing your thoughts and insights into the e-reader and how you can anticipate that working in your course, as well as how it might be able to work in other instructors' courses. So at this point, I will provide a quick tour of the editor, but first I wanted to share just a little bit more background information on Expert TA and the editor to kind of lead into the presentation and add on to what David's already said. So to get started, some brief background on Expert TA for those who might be unfamiliar. We've been serving as an online homework tool, as David mentioned, for select STEM subjects for over a decade now, with the primary focus on physics. And more recently, we have moved into astronomy. We do offer a couple other subjects and have plans to move into chemistry as well soon. We've been OpenStax allies since 2012, And as a technology partner of OpenStax, we aim to enhance their materials and offerings by providing technology solutions that they just may not have the capability to go accomplish themselves. And that's what we're doing here with providing this advanced editor for every OpenStax title. So at present, through OpenStax, there's just not really a graceful way for instructors to edit those textbooks and publish those in an e-reader form. And we're just really excited about the, to offer this capability now. So as I don't know if David mentioned this actually, but in addition to instructors being able to make their own edits, we're going to have an editorial team that will be making their own revisions to the text that will be available for instructors using the e-reader to implement in their own version. So you'll be able to take those edits our team's making and push those into your own version, or you could just adopt the main version that we'll be creating as well. That team's initial focus will be on the OpenStax University Physics Volumes 1 through 3 text to get started, and then we'll move on to others. Okay, so with that, I'm going to jump into the editor now and share my screen. I have several tabs pulled up here to go through a couple of different textbooks and make a couple of different sample edits for you guys to see and kind of wrap your head around how you could use this in your own course. We're going to start in the OpenStax Astronomy 2E textbook, as I imagine some of you might actually have overlap and teach that course as well. Some of the basic points and clicks inside the editor, starting here at the top, you're able to edit the title of the book. So if you want to change this, make it specific to your course or institution, so your students know they're working off a custom version of this book, you can easily do that there. In this top left-hand corner, you just have some basic controls where you can hide the table of contents on this left-hand side to make the editor green, or you can even hide this editor area to get a preview of the e-reader and what your students will see after you're making edits. You also have some basic instructions here that guide you through the editor palette. And this editor palette actually provides you with HTML tags to really just help with the ease of formatting. And you'll see a couple of those in action when we go through this here in the next few moments. Okay, so let's talk about some of the edits you can make. Some of the most probably pressing and easy ones to do would be just changing the wording inside the text. So you could see I could highlight a paragraph like this. I could delete that if I just don't want that included. I could just start rewriting it, change a couple quick words in there. And as you do that, you're going to see those changes appear over here on the right-hand side. So let's just make a inconsequential change as an example. Change this to thinking ahead. And as I do that, you'll now see that populate in the e-reader preview on the right-hand side. So you're seeing exactly what you're going to make available to your students over here. A couple other really easy edits to make, but they're also pretty impactful, is the ability to hide specific content that you might not want to cover in the class on that semester, but the book has it in there. You can easily cut parts of the book out that you don't want to cover, so you can shrink out the fluff, so to speak, so that students are only seeing the material covered. You'll notice we have these publish buttons on the left-hand side. And so let's say this astronomy course only went to chapter 10. If we scroll down here, we could start unpublishing each subsequent chapter so that when the students get into the book, they're only seeing chapters 1 through 10 that'll be covered in the course. Additionally, another really easy edit to make is changing the sequence of the book. We actually know from working with a lot of the users who are using this in the physics courses this semester that this is something that's really important to them, and it's been something that's really nice and easy to accomplish. And all you have to do there to change the sequence in the chapter and section layout is click this edit button that's next to each chapter and section. And then you can just go change the orbital number here to rearrange it to your preference to fit the course's needs. Okay, so those are some more basic edits. Obviously, they have a very good impact on the course by making it more tailored to your students and what they're going to be covering. But there are some more engaging things that you can do inside the editor too, and I'd like to cover those now. So let's talk about embedding PhET simulations into the textbook. We've already had a little bit of talk about PhET simulations from Clifton, and David mentioned that's something that he's looking to do as well. So I think it would be appropriate to go take a look at that. I'm going to move over to the tab. We already have a PhET simulation loaded from UC Boulder. I have the My Solar System simulation. So we'll just click on this to get it to the full view, and we'll give it a second to load. And And once we see that loaded up, all we're going to need to do at this point, if we know this the simulation we want to embed in the text, is go copy and paste this URL. So we're going to copy this URL. And at this point, we move back to the astronomy textbook. And now we need to think about where we want to put it. I'd like to put it just below this figure here. So I'm going to do a line break, and I'm going to move up to the editor palette and choose the iframe option. And I'm just going to paste this URL right into this space where it asks for it. You do have the ability to play with the width and height of the iframe, but it's optional and it's really not necessary. You can just click insert and use the default, and it'll appear very neatly. So let's do that. And now you're seeing it load up on the preview side here. And what's really great about it is, yes, you can embed it in there, but these are interactive for students. You're truly making the textbook interactive when you're putting in activities like this. And to demonstrate that, let's just click on this and get in here, and we can click play. And now you're going to see this start moving. Students can come in here and play with the different parameters as well. But you can see as we scroll down here and maybe we start reading this section, the simulation continues to roll and is there and available for the students. Okay, so simulation is obviously a great resource to embed in the textbook to gauge students' understanding as they move through the text. Another very similar edit you can make, but also very impactful, is embedding videos into the text. And so let's move over to the OpenStax University Physics Volume 1 textbook that I have pulled up in this tab here, and look at how you can embed videos. I have the work in kinetic energy chapter already expanded, and I have this introduction section pulled up. And I'm going to navigate to this next tab, and we have a YouTube video from the Expert TA Physics video series, which is a collection of videos for the flipped classroom that have lecture replacement style videos and worked examples. And so this would just be a quick introduction on work here. And I'm just going to, again, copy this link. Then we'll move back to the text. And the same way I handled this previously, we're going to handle that now. I'll go back up to the iframe, and I'll repaste this URL in. And again, no need to play with the width and height if you don't want to. You can just insert it as it is. And you very quickly can see that load over here on the preview side, excuse me. And we'll click play just so you can see that how this works in here. You can see this working through this example in the overview video for work. Okay, one of the next items that it's important to discuss in this quick high-level overview of.
Hey, Jack.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. There are a couple questions that came in, if you don't mind. Okay.
Yeah.
The first one is from Vivek. He says, suppose I want to teach computational physics. Is it possible to interactively run Python and MATLAB code in these OpenStax textbooks?
That's a great question. I don't think that's something that's available at this moment, but I'm not sure that we could rule that out as a possibility. We could certainly follow up and talk about what exactly you might want to accomplish with that inside of this editor area. But right now, I don't think that's something that's available.
Okay. And one other question, this is from Harsha. Can we embed this into our university learning management system?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to talk about, excuse me again, distribution options once we wrap up this quick tour, but you'll easily be able to provide this URL to your students inside LMS system like Canvas, Blackboard, Moodle, and paste it as a URL. If you're using the Expert TA system along with it, you can even make the your ebook version available inside of your class in the Expert TA system. So you have either option, absolutely.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mike? Okay, great. We'll move on then.
That's it for now.
Great. So the next edit I want to talk about is how the editor fully supports the use of formatted math. So we do support formatted math inside this editor area. Of course, this includes ASCII math, LaTeX, MathML, and MathJax. For the example today, we'll actually just move over to the MathJax site because I have that pulled up for the sake of time. And we'll just go pull this, these two equations they have pulled over here for us as a sample. And we're going to copy and paste these. And then we'll move back to the textbook again. And you can see here that you can easily write in your own equations using these different methods and how they display very neatly inside the editor area. So like with the video, you could very easily provide some context and some equations. You can even write out conceptual questions in here for students to consider as they're moving through the book. And that's actually one thing that will be coming in future releases, will be the ability to embed assignable questions inside the textbook. So that'll be a great feature that will really take advantage of the formatted math and things like that. So on the note of formatted math, we have made some improvements to the textbook and the formatting of the textbook already. And one of those includes the converting of all the equations in the OpenStax tech to LaTeX, which I'm sure most of you are all familiar with. And along with converting those equations to LaTeX, we have also updated a few notation choices that OpenStax implemented that just kind of went against the community standards. And so our editorial team actually has done an evaluation of the top introductory physics text on the market and noted the standard for different notations, like how vectors are displayed. So if I actually pull up the OpenStax text here, you'll see the vectors are represented here by the letter still in italics and with an arrow over it, where we'd only use bold if we were not able to do an arrow, as I'm sure you'll understand. So the decision to represent a vector here with bold and not italics is just not standard. And that's one of the things we wanted to get fixed in all the versions for instructors. And so if we actually move back to our version of university physics in the same chapter and section of the book, you'll notice this updated notation right here. And you'll see this throughout all of these texts. And I've already mentioned this, but this includes OpenStax College Physics, all 3 university physics volumes, the conceptual book. Any OpenStax title is supported through this, and we've updated the notation in those texts. So that's everything I wanted to show in a really quick manner inside the editor that's capable to you today. David did quickly note that there will be the ability to pull edits from other instructors at some point. And we are hoping to make that be available soon, where you'll be able to opt in to sharing your edits with the community in a really simple way. And then you would actually be able to review edits other instructors have made to certain parts of the book and pull those in. And that would also include the edits that our editorial team is making as well. Okay, so to wrap it up, talking about distribution options. So you can edit this text and distribute it to your students in an e-reader form with these interactive simulations and videos very easily. But you also have a free version where you can actually use this editor and make any changes you want and then distribute out via PDF. For the spring semester, if anyone's wanting to potentially leverage this in their course, the e-reader will have a $5 price associated with it that's edited by you. Students do have basic annotation and highlighting skills inside the e-reader that they'll have access to as well. And then moving past that, the price will increase starting in the fall semester to $15, as that will include some advanced annotation and highlighting, as well as message board almost posting, where you as the instructor could highlight a specific chapter or section in the text, then ask all of your students to comment on that or share their thoughts. And you could either make that available to just you or the whole class. And so there'll be some more advanced capabilities coming that we'll be sharing with the community when those are ready as well. So I think that's everything that we hope to cover in this very short demonstration. Just kind of give you an idea of some of the basic things that are capable inside the editor. There's certainly more that we could show you and talk about, and even talk about how you could actually use this for your specific course and what those needs might be. If you are interested in getting access to a version of the OpenStax book to start playing around in the editor, we'd be glad to get you set up. You can go to theexpertta.com, and under the R products, the first option there is OpenStax Customizable eBooks. And I think we should be dropping in a link in the chat too. That would take you directly to this page. But Mike, that's everything that we wanted to cover. If there's any questions that have come in since the last batch, we'd be glad to address those now.
Okay. Julio has asked if you could revisit the ability to write math equations.
Yeah, so for my example here, I just pulled from MathJax, and we went over to the MathJax website, and I just pasted in this pre-built equation here. As you can see, it's already up there, but we could just remove this and type it in, just so you don't have to see me type this in one thing at a time. You can see how easy it is, though. You could type this out yourself, and then on the right-hand side, that format math appears as you would expect it to. Anything else, Mike?
Yes. There's a question about the payment. Was that $5 per student? Do they each pay? Is there a trial period for those who drop the course?
Yeah, that's right. So it is a per student pricing. And yes, the online homework platform has a trial period, and we could offer that same sort of trial period for students as well in the ebook. But it is a per student cost that $5 is for.
Okay, terrific. All right. Well, actually, let's go ahead and give a round of applause. Thank you so much to both David and Jack.
Mike, I wanted to add one more thing, if it's okay. If we have,
Please do. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
I think I failed to mention, I see it here in the chat about what text could be put in here. Really, any OER text could be put into this editor area that's commercially able to be distributed. Then in addition to that, in the future, we're going to be able to allow instructors to even start putting in their own materials into this editable area. So, that process will be coming, and you could imagine building out kind of your own, course pack inside this and then distributing it to students. So I see that in the chat, and that's something that we'll definitely be able to accommodate. So.
Fantastic.
Great.
Okay. If anyone has any other questions, please feel free to ask. You can continue to use the chat or submit through the Q&A. If we end up wrapping up here, by the way, and you're in the middle of typing a question, we will be sure to get the question either to Jack or David or to Clifton if you have a question for Clifton. But at this point, I think we are going to go ahead and wrap up. As I said earlier, you can view the recording of this workshop at any time using the link that you used to sign in. Thank you so much to Expert TA for sponsoring this workshop and for your support of AAPT. We greatly appreciate it. I also wanted to let you know to please save the date for our next two workshops, January 18th, Aiding Student Learning Through Meaningful Engagement with Interactive Virtual Resources, and then February 22nd, Realistic Virtual Physics Labs with Student Engagement. So we'll get details out about those shortly. In the meantime, thank you all so much for attending, and have a great evening.